the dealer could get them. Another thing that they required us to do to even get delivery of the tractor, we had to go through the entire building and remodel, repaint, clean up, and make it like new again. And so we, us boys, got to go in every nook, cranny, and corner of that dealership, and I know it intimately, and clean it out, and then we painted it, and then the deliveries would start. And a highlight of those tractor line was one Saturday night. Dean Long was the parts man, and I was there with him on a Saturday night. We stayed open on Saturday nights in those days because so many farmers would come to town. That's when they do the shopping and getting groceries and hardware store supplies and whatnot. And Delmont Jones came to town, came down on 14, turned left in front of our dealership. He was headed to Walter's Equipment Company. He had intended to come to town to buy a 50-20. And when he went around the corner, he saw a 1206 shining like a diamond in the spotlights on our showroom floor. And he slid to a stop. And Delmont came in the store, looked it all over, and said, "Can I hear it?" Well, this is going to get a little messy in the showroom. So we opened all the doors and opened the back doors to the showroom and fired it up. And when he heard the turbocharger whistle, he was done. He came in Monday and bought it from Dad. And I think they still have that tractor. So that's some of the better memories I have of those days.
Well, my memories started out when Kent and I were probably 8 years old. We'd hang around the garage, and the mechanics, they'd get fed up with us, so they'd send us up to the hardware store for a sky hook. If we couldn't find that, we'd get a left-handed monkey wrench. And one of the mechanics there, not for Kent and I, but for one of our fathers, got a little perturbed one time and just hung him up on the wall for a few minutes on a suspended string. So my goal, as I was told, was to get to be 10 years old. Because when I got to be 10, I got to go to the ranch and start farming. So when we were 10, Kent had a Super C with internal hydraulics. The reason I remember that phrase is he kept reminding me, I've got internal hydraulics. I can bring my mower blade up and down, and I can take my cultivator up and down anytime I want to. You just got that old age, and you just got to drop it in the ground and go on. And you don't have live PTO either. So after we did that for a while, I can remember getting on a 450 for a little bit. The Smith brothers that were there did M's. And then when our families kind of went, split everything up, my dad had a gas 560 and I had a diesel 560, along with a diesel W9. And, we had a lot of fun. These were great days. But when my dad and Jack, their dad, were in the garage, they would get to go every once in a while to Chicago to the annual meeting. And I'm going to now tell you a true story. They went into a big auditorium with a lot of, they thought they knew a lot about international tractors. And one of the vice presidents came out and he had a round wheel. And this wheel was made out of paper. And then it had a wheel on the inside of it. So what you could do is you could dial in how many shares you had down in the ground, how many inches was, and what speed you were going. And then it'd tell you how many acres you could do in an hour. Well, when they developed that tool and sent it out to the dealerships, and the dealers got it down to the farmers and everything, they got a lot of complaints about it. Because it said the wheel didn't know what he was talking about. And you can't get that many acres done in an hour. And the other thing that this vice president had out on the stage, other than this paper wheel, was a seat, tractor seat. He said to them, "You folks know what this is. course, there were some dealers there that thought they could identify that seat going on that new tractor that was coming out. And that was going to get them a prize or get them a little recognition. And the vice president said, nope, you're not even close. He said, gentlemen, this is a socket for your ass. If you don't leave your ass in that seat, this wheel can't tell you what it can do. So with that, I'll just tell you that international harvest has all been in our blood. It's really been the only tractor I've ever been around. And I thank each and every one that's here today to share some of this history with us.
The reason TA Rhudy Sons began farming was in those days, especially when they got the international tractors going, was guess what everybody was trading to them? Mules and horses. And so what do you do with mules and horses? You can't keep them in the shop at night. You can't keep them on the outside display because they're a little messy sometimes. So TA went out and bought a farm. And so they had a place to store the high dollar trade-ins until they were able to market them and close the sale. And so then one thing led to another, and they just kept buying land and buying land. So that's how we kind of got into the farming business, was kind of by the back door, by trading for horses. And then if you've been over to the display, that long picture there about a field demonstration was to prove that rubber tires did work instead of lugs on tractors. And I gave that picture or gave a copy of it to a big farmer in Temple, Texas, where I live. And he's an excited IH collector like you all are. And he got so excited that he had a tractor collection of a couple hundred tractors. And he looked at that picture and picked out one of his own tractors that matched those tractors in the picture. And then had the whole community come out one Sunday afternoon and stand around. And he duplicated that picture in color in modern days. So that was quite a compliment to that.
I'm going to kind of relate the history. When TA started out, we started selling international trucks. And that worked us into the farm equipment line, and well, we had Titan tractors, I think, at one time, and got in the farm equipment line. Well, that's when they brought in D as a bookkeeper and accountant to help TA run the business. Well, as the years progressed, Don, my granddad in the business, his brother came in as a mechanic and a partner. Well, as it went on, Don actually, am I saying this right? He was the farmer, and Steve's dad was actually the accountant or the bookkeeper.
My granddad.
Your granddad, yeah. And then when it comes to about 1960, when this diesel thing come about, when it switched over, my granddad Don wound up with the tractor dealership, and my dad was the salesman, and Dee took over the farming, and his dad Bill and Steve, and Dee didn't really know a lot about farming, correct, Steve? I mean...
Well, he didn't farm on a day-by-day basis.
Right. So, I mean, we kind of flipped the family over, and my granddad was the one that was, you know, actually the farmer out of the group. Do you have anything to say to that, Kent? Or Steve?
You got anything else to say?
No.
Oh, yeah, you know, it wasn't all days of sunshine and roses at the dealership. We had a few minor incidents. We had a Lodestar truck with a Swartz ramp hoist bed, and John Strotman had brought his tractor in for repairs, and I was to load it up and take it back to the farm. And I had the bed tilted down, I had the winch hooked on, and I was pulling the tractor backwards up on the bed. There was an attractive young lady driving by about this time, and somehow my attention come off the tractor and went to the young lady driving by. And I looked up just in time to see that tractor come over the side of the truck and hit the ground. But it missed me about a foot. So, anyway.
Did you get her attention?
Pardon me?
Did you get her attention?
I didn't get hers, but that tractor got mine.
Well, there's a couple of things that I can remember, but when Kent and I started farming with his granddad, my great uncle, correct? Yeah. We would work, we would come out of school and work each and every day, and we received $1 a day. And I can remember that we always got a candy bar and a little carton of milk in the morning, and we had to be at Uncle Don's house and Aunt Cena's at 12 o'clock, and heads rolled if we weren't there at 12 o'clock. Cena wouldn't let anybody forget it with that finger. And then in the afternoon we would get candy bar and milk. And I can remember when I was 10, 11, 12, killed Kent and I because we had to cultivate corn while they cut the wheat. But the one thing that everybody kept talking about was the fact that we had 5 machines going. And I'm pretty sure I've confirmed this with Kent. I believe they were 12-foot headers. But the comment was we could go through and cut 60 feet. And that was a big swath when you go around and around a quarter section. And the other thing is if we weren't real busy on the farm, they'd take us into the dealership, make us work. And I saw them all kind of grinning and laughing. They said, I was 12, maybe 13, we want you to deliver this H. And I won't tell you who I was delivering it to. But when I got there with the flatbed truck, they said, all you got to do is go over by the railroad tracks and unload it. Well, guess what? They were starting to dismantle that. So I went back to the house, couldn't find the farmers. So I backed the truck down into the ditch, unloaded the H, got the chains, hooked it on the front of the truck, pulled it back up out of the ditch, and drove it into the farm by the house, and I was getting off, and the 2 guys came out just laughing. They said, we didn't think you'd ever get that thing unloaded. So, it made you grow up real quick.
Like I did Johnny Strotman's M, you got it done real quick.
Yeah. So, they put a lot of responsibility on you at a young age, but they taught you a lot of great lessons.
Yeah, and I would say that if I enjoyed any success as a farm equipment dealer, it was because of the training and being made to work and be responsible and disciplined at Rhudy Sons, and I learned a lot about farming, and I learned a whole lot about equipment and what to do with them, and I really appreciate that.
Some of the early history, Kent reminded me yesterday, it was in the 50s that we sold Kraus one-ways.
Yes.
And how many did we sell that one time? 15? 50 Kraus one-ways one year. Because we got talking about, when we, farming in the 60s, I started out running one-ways, then we progressed to plows, and then towards the late 60s, everybody was using the undercut V plow up in this part of the country, so. I think back in the 30s when we first sold drills, we sold, 15 or 18 drills one fall?
72.
something like that. I'm trying to remember the statistics and stuff. You know, me growing up in the dealership, and we had to make a dealership, you had to have a good mechanic. And of course, we had Leonard Sturge, which was he was an excellent mechanic. He was kind of a cranky old guy to get along with, but he didn't like us boys that much, I don't think. But if he liked you, he'd teach you a little bit and stuff. And of course, we'd play the jokes on him and stuff, and that kind of got it going. But, you know, through the years, we went through the 560 transmission problems. Kent was demonstrating a 403 combine one year, new one, and he changed oil in it one morning. No big deal. We got a hose comes off the side of the combine, you take the plug off, drain the oil. Middle of the afternoon, this machine, it starts like it's slugging. It's slowing down. He looks over the oil pressure gauges. There's no oil pressure.